Yeah, this Light and Shadow one, there's way too much here. There's way too much for this Light and Shadow leak. This Light and Shadow leak was posted 2 days ago. It says, after our return from Shadowlands, we see that Azeroth is nearly awakened, but is very vulnerable. Cataclysms shake all the continents as the birth of the Titan occurs. Okay, a good start, a good start. I'll grant them that. It's got off to a pretty solid start. New continent is actually Dragon Isles, but dragons aren't the main story of the expansion. Good. That's what I've been saying. That's good. Devs are trying to recreate Legion's success and have both epic and local plot lines. Dragon Isles consists of 5 zones, each for every main flight. We'll see a more savage and powerful versions of dragons, and new types of dragonkin, e.g. turtles, hydras with dragon blood, etc. Isles are located on the other side of Azeroth, west to Kalimdor. Don't know how I feel about that. New races are Stonewall Ogres for the Horde and Rajani Mogu for the Alliance. If we get Ogres for the Horde, finally, I will be so goddamn happy. I will be so goddamn happy if we get Ogres for the Horde. We have been wanting Ogres for years and we haven't got them yet. Please give us the Ogres. New systems is an attempt to create an adequate version of Shadowlands systems. Dragonflights work essentially like Covenants. Free switching from the start. Lessons learnt. I mean, Ogre Arms Warrior Inc. Exactly, Pucker. Exactly. Give me that. The new systems thing, learning from Shadowlands systems. Honestly, if Covenants were free switching from the start, I don't think people would have been as angry about Covenants, like at all. I think if Blizzard did something like that, it would actually be very, very well received. Honestly. Bronze Flight Isle will contain sort of a reworked Torghast in a form of a time-travelling temple. Infinite time ways with various instances of Azeroth's past, like First War, Second War, etc. Planned to make it epic and remove grind. Greater scale up to 20-man parties, historical bosses like Galakron and Medivh. Immediately after reading that, my first thought is Warfronts. My first thought is Warfronts and how much of a failure Warfronts were. They truly were a complete and utter failure. They could have been so good, and it just was messed up. Just another thing that BFA did that could have been amazing and they messed up. Like Island Expeditions. If they were able to pull off Bronze Flight, this reworked time Torghast, then it would be mind-blowingly good. But they've got to be able to make it epic. I mean, and this is the other problem. Sometimes I think Blizzard, they try and do epic instead of it becoming epic, if that makes sense. They try and make it something special instead of it naturally becoming something special. Infinite Dragonflight is one of the main local antagonists, other being a faction of hostile dragons who pretend to be Azeroth's lieutenants and caretakers. They will be the main antagonists in the starting raid. Also, there'll be a time travel raid in later patches. I have no problem with time travel raids. I think that would be quite cool. A faction of hostile dragons who pretend to be Azeroth's lieutenants and caretakers. Again, could be interesting stories. Main conflict is not about dragons. Light and Shadow assaulting Azeroth to claim Titan's power. I mean, if the Titan's waking up and is being prepared to be born, it does make sense. They'd be like vultures swarming around a corpse. Alliance is at the brink of a civil war, with Turalyon refusing to return crown to Anduin and being distrustful of Kalia, new queen of the Forsaken. He is under influence of Reborn Scarlet Crusade and will open a portal to alternate Draenor and let in Yrel and Army of the Light. They will take over Stormwind, taking Stormwind back as a raid later into the expansion. Yes, 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 do something like that with this alternate Draenor. Let the light be a bad thing. Let the light be something we have to do. Not only the light a bad thing, the fact that one of the Alliance characters actually has a negative impact on the story. Arathor will be a central character of the expansion. Azshara will return, opening a portal to the Void and leading Void invasion to Azeroth. Her appearance will change to a Void Elf-like. She will appear on the main poster. Xal'atath will also return. We'll know more of her origins and importance. Yeah, absolutely like that. I'd love to learn more about Xal'atath, and Azshara being there, a good thing. That was kind of like a story that was untold a little bit. Needed to get to the bottom of that. With the way that it with the way that it reads, it seems like the Horde will help them take it back as well. Cross-faction raids, yes, please. I've said if you do two things, cross-faction raids, let that happen, or cross-faction grouping, let that happen, so you can do Mythic Plus and stuff. And number two, get rid of the regions. So if I want to play North American servers, I can on the same account. Like, do that. Do those two things. I held up 4 fingers then, but do those two things, and you will see a dramatic increase in the amount of people playing the game. New class. It's actually a new system Dev's been working on for a few years. Test name is Subclass. Actually a class that is part of already existing class, but with its own 2 specs. E.g. you start as a Shaman, get to level 10, and then either choose a spec or a Shadow Hunter subclass. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Please, no. It is difficult enough to balance all the classes we currently have. I don't want to start seeing subclasses. It has some mechanics that overlap with general Shaman class, but then its own mechanics, more unique than normal specs, and 2 specs inside it. Shadow Hunter in particular will have healing and curses specs. They are also planning to implement Dark Rangers, Blade Masters, Wardens, and several more over the course of the next several expansions. I feel as though, I mean, it's difficult enough to balance the classes they currently have, and trying to then balance a class and a subclass as well, it would take far too much. Now, what I would prefer them to do, and this would be potentially very, very controversial, but change the specs. So over the time that we have been through Shadowlands, instead of having, take a look at specs that traditionally aren't played that much and change them. Give them a complete revamp, but give them a completely different name as well. Let's have a completely different revamping. If you want to turn around and do something like that, you want to have Blade Masters, rename Arms. I mean, I'm an Arms main. I play Arms Warrior. I love Arms Warrior. But instead of adding a new spec or adding a new class, really change things up. Have it so that Arms Warriors become Blade Masters. Have it, that to me would be a much, much better evolution of the game. I think that would be much better in the long run. The idea behind this is to implement iconic racial characters like Shadow Hunters, Dark Hunters and stuff that are familiar and popular, but at the same time not big enough to fit an old idea of class on their own. Lore-wise, we make some sort of Children of Azeroth taking place of class halls. It's a place where trolls teach each other race secrets of Shadow Hunters, Orcs, Blade Masters, Night Elves, Wardens. Subclasses will still be limited to 2 to 4 races, so you must take certain race class combos to unlock the subclass. Again, no. Make it so that, people keep trying to bring specs down to just a singular thing. Let's expand it out. Let's make it bigger. There will be an analogue of artifact weapon from Legion, but this time not 1 per spec, but 1 per class and subclass. I mean, okay, but why would I, say for example I'm going Blade Master, why would I want to use a one-hander? I'd want to use a 2-handed weapon. And if I was a protection warrior, I wouldn't want to use a 2-handed weapon. I don't feel like that would make sense. A corruption system, actually 2 at once, light and shadow. You should choose wisely when combining light and void touched items, as the conflict with each other, but also give insane boost. I'm assuming but also give an insane boost. You can also pick purely one of these, but end up brainwashed by light or shadow. This is promised to be a key mechanic of the expansion. I wouldn't mind that. I think, once again, quite difficult to balance. We've seen what happens with corruption, but at the same time, it seems like it could be quite interesting. Seems as though it could be good fun, if they are able to balance it correctly. And there's a lot of good ideas in this. I don't think it is real. I think this isn't going to be real. But some good ideas. If they're able to pull this off, then it would be really cool. Being able to balance on a character and trying to really toe the line with it. But again, as we've seen with corruption, sometimes that can be very, very difficult for them to do. They put all money in an effort at this, scrapping a huge part of Shadowlands in hope to make a bigger, better Legion. All or nothing. Yeah, I'd say it's safe to say that would be a bigger, better Legion if everything worked correctly. I don't like the idea of subclasses. I feel as though it should be specs that are already in the game that are renamed. I like the idea of having Turalyon refusing to return the crown to Anduin, specifically after what happened to Anduin. Turalyon would be very, very distrustful of that, and distrustful of Kalia as well, new Queen of the Forsaken. The Yrel and Army of the Light makes sense, the fact that we do get dragons, but they're not the main focus. Stonewall Ogres for Horde, I think, could be good. Rajani Mogu for the Alliance, again, quite interesting. The Time Walking Torghast, yeah, sounds kind of cool. But at the same time, I also think it could run into the same problem that Warfronts did, where it just fell short over time. Infinite Dragonflight, one of the main local antagonists, also cool. And the fact that we do have Light and Shadow assaulting Azeroth does then obviously give us a chance to continue on this story. What would be really cool is if they did decide to do this, if this was real, have Yrel and the Army of Light be a part of it, and then have the next expansion be more focusing on Yrel and Army of the Light over dragons. I think that would be really cool. I think that'd be very, very cool. But I don't think this is real, but very, very good, very exciting. I would very much look forward to playing this if it was announced.